Hello and welcome to this week's television review, where I'll be discussing season one of probably my favorite TV show out right now, Severance. Okay, so I'm recording this video on February 20th, 2025. So we are fully in the midst of season two. I believe episode 6 gets released tonight. Lots of questions, lots of theories being had, lots of panic if you're a part of the Severance community or on the Reddit threads or anything like that. But before we talk about season two and hop onto that, I do want to talk about season one because I spent the weekend catching up and getting fully caught up on the series. And honestly, I'm shocked that this show has fully taken over my life. The only YouTube videos I'm watching right now are theories or people reacting to season one, especially when it came to that finale. Those last 2 episodes were intense, very, very intense. S tier episodes in my book. All-time episodes in my book in terms of television. Okay, so before we get into this review, I do want to say it will be a spoiler-filled review. I'll be going over the events that happened in season one and just kind of keeping it there. I don't want to get into any season 2 stuff in case someone watched season 1 and jumps to this video. I don't want to spoil you on season 2, but please continue to watch because it's really, really good. Okay, so when the show first starts, we are introduced to Mark Scout, who is a worker for Lumen, which is a kind of general big corporation. I do enjoy that it's not too specific. This isn't like, it's not like they're just straight copying like Tesla or supposed to represent a company like Tesla or Amazon or Disney even. It's just everywhere. They're everywhere. The town is like surrounded and it's almost like the town is sponsored by Lumen. But getting back to Mark, who is played by Adam Scott, he is a severed worker, meaning that to work on the floor that he's at for the microdata industry, I think just in general the Severance floor, that whole floor that he goes down to in the elevator, all those people are severed, meaning that they have had a procedure or surgery to where it splits your time in half. Basically, whenever you go to work, you just kind of focus on work as a whole different person, and that person does not know who you are outside. Then as soon as you leave the company or leave the building, all your personal memories come back to you, and you don't remember anything from work. And the way they sell it is kind of like you've never actually worked. You just kind of showed up and then left. It's almost like 2 minutes have passed, and then you're kind of like back at it, and you're kind of on your way back home, which sounds extremely enticing, especially for a person like me. It's funny because I work for a kind of big company, a pharmaceutical company, on my regular 9 to 5, like outside of the YouTube or photography thing that I do. So seeing certain things and certain verbiage that the company I've worked for being used in this show was pretty hilarious. But also it got to the point now where like at work, it's just really work. Like, of course I have some coworkers that I'm cool with and like I would call friends, but for the most part, whenever I'm doing the work at my job, it's just really work. Like I kind of like tune out and just kind of focus on that and then go in and out. And also I thought about it and I was like, man, you can never really do the whole, well, how was work, with your significant other or your friend or anything like that. No one could be like, well, how was work today? That kind of question is like out the window, which honestly, like I said, it sounded enticing to me because as I've worked more and more time at the company, it's gotten to the point where it's very similar. You know what I mean? There's certain things that might happen here and there, but for the most part, it's just like uneventful. And in many ways, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Going through the motions, kind of, you're so comfortable with it. I'm so comfortable at the job that I'm at now that I've been doing it for years, and I don't even like enjoy talking about my work just because I like to keep that separate from like my job and just kind of see it as a source of income. So for me, at first, the procedure sounded pretty cool. And the more I've told people about this show, they also think that the procedure sounds very interesting. Like, oh, that's what's up. I'll totally do that. But then you kind of look into the insides of the company and wonder, well, why don't they want me to remember these things? What are we exactly doing here? Which, to be completely honest with you, I'm fully caught up on the show in season 2. I think what the last one was 5. I still don't know what they're doing, honestly. I have no idea what they're doing. There's a lot of theories out there, but I won't get into that. But yeah, Mark decided to do the program after the death of his wife, Gemma. And this is season 1 spoiler, so I could totally get into it. Miss Gemma, who ends up being a person he recognizes later, is Innie and Audi, which I should probably get into as well. Innie Mark is the person that works for the company during the day, and Audi Mark is the person that we see out and about. And I think the first person we're introduced to is Mark, Helly, but Mark in his car as he's like crying and having like a kind of a breakdown before he goes into work. But yeah, Mark S decided to get the procedure done after the death of his wife Gemma, which I could imagine was a really, really painful experience for him, and he kind of wanted to like take that out. But it's funny because it's not funny, but we still see him deal with that on a daily basis. Even like I said, when we first introduced to him, He's crying in the car before he goes in and drinking constantly. There's constantly mentions of him smelling like a distillery from his sister, who I love, by the way. Devin is actually like incredible, like a really, really cool character. Probably the most realist character I feel like on the show. Just in terms of her comedy, in terms of her timing and comments, it just sounds like super, super genuine. She's like probably one of the most genuine characters I've seen on a TV show. But yeah, we're introduced to Mark, who is the chief manager who takes over. Actually, that first episode is his first day as the lead of his department, the Microdata Research Center. After we learn that Petey, the previous manager, is not there anymore, or fired or quit, we really still kind of don't know what happened to him. But we are also introduced to Helly R, played by the very lovely Britt Lauer, or Lauer. I don't know if it's Lauer or Lower, but yeah, she is incredible. And we kind of see her first day on the job, a first day of a severed person who is kind of thrown on the table, asked a series of questions by Mark, and then kind of introduced to what exactly is going on at the severance floor at Lumen. So without going through episode by episode, I just kind of want to give my general thoughts on the season. Aesthetically, I think it's incredible. Everything seems so clean whenever they're there. Everything on the outside seems so like meticulous, you know what I mean? And especially going back, because I finished season 1 and I fully caught up, I think, on Sunday, and today's Thursday. I've been rewatching episodes. I finally got my brother into it. Shout out to Nick. And just rewatching the first 2 episodes with my brother, I kind of see and notice things that like will play into a factor later on. For example, there's a scene where Irving, who is played by John Turturro, fantastic. I love John Turturro. I actually watched Oh Brother Where Art Thou like not too long ago before starting the show, so fantastic. But yeah, there's a scene where Irving B, John Turturro, who plays Irving B, another one of my favorite characters, he is at a melon bar, I think, for Helly after her first day, and he's eating melon, but as he's eating it, you kind of look at his fingernails, and he has some, like, at first you just think it's like dirt or something like that, but later on we kind of learn that he's a painter, and those are the things under his fingernails, which could possibly relate to him dozing at work as well, when we see kind of this black goo. And you also see it in the intro too, with Mark, which I don't know if that was, I don't know, I assume that was animated, but him like kind of at the computer looking at the trash can, and it's kind of like this black goop just dropping down, which could also relate to paint maybe from Irving, that he just sees like black paint constantly. That's kind of when we first see his like Audi form. He's painting this the elevator, or the, what was it called? The testing room kind of elevator, which is a whole nother thing in itself, which still kind of is blowing my mind with that reveal that they did. And we're also introduced to Dylan G, who is played by Zach Cherry, who brings such a funny aspect to the show, and just like I feel like I've met a lot of Dylans, you know what I mean? I feel like I know a lot of Dylans, or I myself might even be a Dylan in that scenario, you know what I mean? A scenario where you kind of don't know anything else except for your company's lore, which is a very strange lore. Getting into that lore for a bit, the whole company at Lumen is kind of centered on this whole, on the founder, Keir Egan, which for a while I didn't know what they were saying, Keir, but Keir Egan, I think Kier, who was the founder of Lumen, and just has all this like weird lore, you know what I'm saying? They're kind of seeing him as like a god figure. He's basically the god of that like floor for the severed people. That's kind of all they know. They have the handbook, they know his lore. There's these kind of like paintings posted up throughout the building of different events of Keir's life. He's essentially God in their like on that floor. And 2 people who I know love Keir Egan, which is Miss Cobell, I guess Harmony Cobell, or Mrs. Selvig, which we learn that later she is Mark's boss, but also Mark's next door neighbor, which is again creepy as hell. I still don't know. Again, season 2 I'm fully caught up, but I still don't know what her deal is with Mark, why she's so obsessed with him and stuff like that. Even though we go in season 2, like I said in another video, but the center of Mark and what that has to do with anything is very interesting to me. But anyway, going back to Miss Cobell, who plays I believe I don't know what they were called, I guess the main manager at Lumen, or main manager on the severed floor, who's kind of over all these severed people, as well as, I don't know really what to call him either, but the assistant manager, the kind of Dwight to the Michael, Mr. Milchick, who is played by Tremel Tillman. Fantastic. I mean, absolutely fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen him before in a role. I have to look up his IMDb, but he is fantastic in terms of playing a team player. He's like the Goku of like company men. He's just on point always with this verbiage, super professional. That's what I was telling my brother when we were watching. I was like, this guy is very, very professional. Probably the most professional character I ever met, who doesn't really sway either way. He'll kind of keep it. He's just like the perfect company man. He kind of keeps his comments like they're slightly unique. Well, he'll kind of throw something that like I don't want to call them the separate people, but you know what I mean, like Mark, Helly, Irving, and Dylan. He'll kind of like make comments that are like slightly like they seem slightly personable, and then like he goes right back to like being a company man, and it's just his goal is Lumen. It kind of reminds me of like whenever SpongeBob like he threw out all of his memories and just focused on being a waiter for Squidward to try to impress Squilliam. I'm not sure how many people get that reference, but it's just what it reminded me of. And going back to Miss Cobell, who is played by Patricia Arquette, who's been around forever. She's an awesome actress. I loved her in The Hateful Eight. She was really good in that. To see her here was pretty good, and to see these kind of like little moments where she's another one who's like very professional, very like Mark. They almost have this kind of like, well, with her and with Irving, they almost have like kind of a posh accent, kind of like very proper, like posh, like a American accent, I guess you could say, with their verbiage and stuff. But there are these moments where like she just snaps and like will like yell at Mark or throw something at him, which I think is funny because it kind of shows her breaking out of that whole like sheltered or whole like just I don't know, like it just shows her being more human, which is like nice. Okay, so I want to talk about one of my favorite episodes of the series, but of season 1, being Defiant Jazz, where Helly is rewarded with a kind of 5-minute, I believe, like musical break where where like the genres were like, it was like new hip hop or like some Defiant hip hop or something like that. But she ends up picking Defiant Jazz. She picks like the maraca, and we're totally like subjected to this awesome dancing, which I did not expect at all, of everyone kind of getting in the groove of this jazz music, and Milchick is dancing his ass off. I don't know what. I mean, hey, look, he got into it. Shout out to I want him to win an award just for that scene because that was incredible. Of him just kind of like dancing, and then you see everyone else getting more comfortable. And my favorite was Irving, who was just like snapping, like trying to get into it. But I don't know. He's another one who loves Lumen, or at least before we kind of see the ending of season 1, he was kind of like obsessed with the whole lore of Lumen. But yeah, Defiant Jazz is one of my favorite episodes, especially because of the way it ended. If I have this correct, I believe it ends with kind of like Mark's self, or his outie self, I should say, who is kind of dealing with like the aftermath of like all the other stuff that he has going on with learning more and more about the company outside of work, when it came to Petey's demise and it came to what exactly is going on at Lumen. So someone that Mark is talking to throughout the show is Alexa, who plays his sister's midwife, who kind of delivers the baby for her, or helps her deliver the baby whenever the time comes. Because I didn't mention this, but his sister's totally pregnant throughout the first episode, which they did a good job of hiding. Because when they're in the car, I did not know she was pregnant at all until she like was walking around the house that they were in. But anyway, it seems like Alexa forgot her phone at Mark's place after spending the night there. She comes, and then after a while, Mark, who is already kind of lit, you could tell he's kind of drunk already, is trying to do this. There's these awkward interactions. Honestly, all the interactions he has like with people while he's like slightly intoxicated are awkward. It's like super awkward. But she just is telling him that you're not ready for the relationship, this and that, and he kind of like gets defensive and is like, "What is this about my wife, my deceased wife?" He brings out a picture of her. And rips it apart, and Alexa just leaves. She's like, well, this guy's like on one, he's like not in the right space, so she kind of dips. And Mark's reaction, but my favorite scene was Mark's reaction to her leaving, where he's like just talking to himself and talking about his wife, and it's just like, she was extraordinary, she was fantastic, she was like almost like speaking the truth that it almost seems like he hasn't been saying that, you know what I mean? He's just kind of been drowning out his pain, and kind of like not dealing with it for 8 hours a day. But yeah, that scene where he's just kind of like talking to himself, then he goes back and he tapes up the photo, and then we see that his wife is actually Miss Casey, who at work at Lumen, Miss Casey is the wellness, I don't want to say wellness director, but she kind of does these like therapy sessions with the severed people whenever they need a wellness check. Which, to be completely honest with you, I didn't even make that connection until the end. I didn't make the connection until Dylan like switches everyone until Dylan switches everyone, and then you kind of see Mark lift the photo, and then the ending where he's like, she's alive. That is where I realized, like, oh shit, that's his wife. Like, that's the lady from work. What the hell? I don't know why either. I don't know why. Maybe because I was watching on my phone, or I wasn't paying attention to that, and I was like, oh, they revealed his wife. His wife was like this person, but I don't know why my mind didn't even go there. They're like, I think I was just so caught up on like catching up. I think I was just so caught up on finishing season 1 that I was just like, I have to keep going. Okay, while we're on the subject of love, I do want to talk about Irving B and Bert. I don't know what his last initial was, but Bert, who was played by Christopher Walken of all people. I did not expect that. Their kind of relationship, and their kind of like, I don't know what to call it, man. Like a partnership, companionship. It's just super, super cute. A really cute like thing, and just kind of seeing how it really reminds you, especially in season 2, how like your first love could be so like enticing, or your first love could kind of take over your life and your world, you know what I mean? Where in the beginning you see Irving be a very good, solid worker. He's really into it. He's really into like the company. He's really into the lore. He's into everything, and he actually bonds with Bert rather. When he goes and does his wellness check with Miss Casey. They're kind of both looking at a painting and both admiring it and kind of bonding over their love of Lumen, which eventually leads to them being much, much more closer. I also want to talk about how Dylan is totally against. He reminds me of like a brother or like a friend who like doesn't want you to date a certain person, and it's just like, no, like they do everything they can. It's very, like, I don't know, it reminds me of like, yeah, like a brother or someone who's just like, yo, I don't want you, like, you're back with him again, like, you're back on that stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like, whenever you're kind of like go back to the person you like care about. But Dylan's kind of overseeing everything is like pretty hilarious when he smacks, or I don't know if he smacks something out of Bert's hand, but he kind of is like, yo, he was coming at you, bro, you didn't see that? And Irving's like, Dylan, what are you doing? I just love this world that they built. I believe Dan Erickson is the creator of the show, as well as Ben Stiller of all people. Again, someone who I never would have thought would have something like this up his sleeve, but incredible job, incredible world that they're building. And watching, like I said, I've only watched the first episodes back with my brother, but the pacing is fantastic. I believe we're gonna watch episode 3 today with my brother Nick. And so the PD storyline, I believe it might be wrapped up already. You know what I'm saying? Like it just keeps moving on, like the way we see kind of like his demise and stuff like that. They really do keep the show moving, and they do a great job of revealing things and then I don't want to say pulling back, but they kind of like, they'll answer some questions and then give you some more questions, and then answer some questions and give you some more questions, to where the point you just got to keep going and keep watching it. And it's interesting because like, especially towards the end, which I'll get into now, which we see like as the team is rebelling more and more throughout the show, or throughout the season rather, you kind of see these guys and they're like, we're not happy here. We don't know what we're doing. We want these questions answered. And Harmony and Milchick are just kind of like, it's work. This is very important work. We see Mark and them stumble over like a room with goats and stuff like that, which we don't know what's going on there. Even in season 2, we still don't know what's going on there. It poses an interesting question, because as they start making this plan of like Dylan going to the control room, switching everybody back, which we kind of see they do to him, because Dylan steals like not a key card, but he steals like some kind of like art piece at work from a different department, from the department that Bert's at. This kind of almost propaganda piece that they put out there. I can only imagine intentionally. But Milchick visits him at his home. He's in his closet. He's looking around like they switch him back, and he's Dylan from work at his home, and he's looking at his clothes like, are these mine? What's going on? And then we see his son run in, and his reaction was just like, what the fuck? I have a kid, this and that. Like, he's totally freaked out, and that kind of spawns everything, kind of spirals everything out. Especially because I think that's where he attacks him after Defiant Jazz, after he learns it and wants to know more information about his family and his personal life. And it's interesting, man, because it's like, if they end the Severed program, the characters we love will cease to exist. You know, Mark S., all the innies will cease to exist. So it's kind of like, you really like these guys. I really like these guys. You can see like with the wallpaper. And I've been watching clips, and I love even like Helly and Mark's relationship, which I could get into. I think I'm gonna get into more in season 2 whenever that wraps up. But I want to see where it goes. But the little cute moments they have where she kind of like kisses him before they go off on the mission of spreading the word that they're not happy at Lumen, that they're kind of trapped there and they kind of like are tortured, especially, I'll get into it later, but the break room, crazy. But just that whole kind of cute scene that they have where like she's about to leave, she kisses him, she's like, in case we don't come back. Then she's like, or in case we do, like kind of leaving it out there, like, you know, we could continue this if you want, this and that, kind of like putting things out there. Like, I don't know, it's very simple, but it's a scene that I go back to a lot. But yeah, Dylan, their plan is for Dylan, who after a very, very strange waffle party, which is some Eyes Wide Shut type beat, is kind of going to control them. He's going to switch them back while kind of like doing like a two-man job, pulling these two levers. And as he pulls these two levers, everyone is switched on. So their innies are now on the outside world, where we see Irving kind of paying around until he starts looking for Bert, who was retired like a couple episodes back, and is trying to find him because his whole life is Bert. It's the love of his life. You know what I mean? Like, his focus is on Bert. He doesn't even care about the mission. He just wants to tell Bert. And honestly, he probably could have told Bert the information that Mark wanted him to say about how they're like unhappy and stuff like that. So, I mean, in a way, he was still kind of on the mission because he wanted to tell somebody important. And there was no one really around except for his dog. We see Helly, who apparently is like the heir to the company. She is Helena Egan, who is the daughter of James Egan, who is on some weird already. Like, they all look weird. All these Egans look crazy. I think Helena is the only one that looks kind of like normal, to be honest with you. Out of there, bro. I don't like Amish. I don't know. I don't know what they are. This is season 2, the Fagin Mobbit. Even the verbiage they use are just kind of like strange. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what they're trying to like represent. It's not like, I don't think they're clowning on Elon Musk. Although I wouldn't be mad if they were clowning on Elon Musk, especially now. But I don't know what he's supposed to like represent or what that is about. But it's creepy. But we see her at a party who she's gonna do a speech because, like I said, she's in the Severance program. So Helena Egan is actually a severed person who is down there, who we know as Helly, who is going to give a speech on like the benefits of it. She's looking around the party and she sees all these like videos and photographs, because throughout the whole season 1, you constantly see Milchick taking photos. And I was wondering like, what the hell is he doing? Is this like for research purposes? But those photos are used there and these images are used there at the event, at the party. We also see Mark, who is at I don't think this is a dinner party. This is like a reading or a dinnerless party like they had in episode 1, but he's at this reading with his brother, who I haven't get into, but his sister's brother, Rickon, who is like this. He's another one of my favorite characters. A ridiculous, like, you could say pretentious, but just out there, like, I don't know, man. He's just like not even. I don't know what thing he's operating on. He seems genuine, but just, I don't know, ridiculous, I could say. But he's doing this reading on the book, which eventually which got snuck into work because Cobell's, like I said, she's his neighbor, so she took the book and brought it to work, and then Milchick left it. He was reading it, then he left it on the desk, and then they found it and they brought it back and stuff like that. But it's funny to me that like on the outside, Mark kind of sees Rickon as like not a clown, but kind of someone he's like, whatever. He's kind of over him already. Like, it is what it is. I know what he's about. But on the inside, they all like genuinely enjoy his book. Like, Dylan enjoys the book. Irving enjoys the book. They all like are super fans of it, which is hilarious, and it also kind of fuels them to like do this rebellion. But anyway, they're at this reading, and Mark S, any Mark, is trying to figure out what's going on. He sees Miss Cobell there, who had just gotten fired that episode, but he knows her, or I guess she's under a different name, Mrs. Selvig. Like I said, I don't know what her motivation was. She's trying to like, she was teaching Mark's sister like the way to breastfeed and stuff like that. I don't know what that's about still to this day. I don't know what their obsession with Mark is. But anyway, he sees her. He's like, why is she here? This and that. He's asking all these questions. He needs to talk to his sister. They eventually have that conversation. His sister kind of tells him, well, why did my Audi do the procedure about his wife, this and that. And the episode ends, or the season ends, with him seeing the photo of his wife, who we know is Mrs. Casey, who is a person we believe she was dead. We always believe that like Mark's wife was deceased, that she did. We even see him visit the crash site. So the fact that she's dead, but she's not dead because she was in, doing the wellness stuff, and we don't even know what she's doing now, because all we see is her kind of like packing her stuff, and then she's sent to the testing room, which is the room that Irving B or Irving, is his Audi self is constantly painting more and more paintings of, which we still don't know what's that about. It leaves you with so many questions and asking and so many questions and so many theories on like what exactly is going to happen. And like I said, I just want to stick to season 1 because I know what happens after this. Kinda the first 4 episodes or 5 episodes after this, where we're at, because the season 2 is still going on as I record this video. What an ending to an awesome season 1. I do want to recommend some other media in a similar vibe, or at least the vibe that I got from the show. One being possibly my favorite movie of all time, Fight Club. I'd throw in Mr. Robot, especially if you're into this show. I think Mr. Robot's like a very, very similar thing. Just a little darker, I would say. I don't think it's on as much on the humor side as this one. I don't think it's as humorous as Severance is, but I would recommend Mr. Robot for sure. Fight Club, Mr. Robot, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Those kind of 3 are the vibe that I'm getting from this show, or things that it's reminded me of. 3 things that I absolutely love, 3 things that I cherish, that I see personally as like all-time properties, or all-time like movies and TV shows. But yeah, if you enjoy Severance, I definitely want to recommend those 3. But yeah, guys, I don't want this video to be too long. I just want to give my general thoughts on season 1 and what I think about the show. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I highly, highly recommend it. It's on Apple TV. I believe if you have Apple Music, I don't know if it's just the plan that I'm on, but I have like the family plan for Apple Music, so it kind of includes like Apple One or Apple Plus, I guess, and all that stuff. So check if you have it, man. If not, check Verizon or whatever company you're with, and you should be able to like see it. I think episode 1 is on Amazon Prime. I heard on like a show someone was reviewing that they have the first episode on there. But yeah, that'll kind of sum it up. Fantastic, a really, really good show. It's really motivated me to. I remember having a weird dream that I might turn into something. But I had a weird dream, and then something just told me I need to watch this episode. I had a very strange dream, like a very like specific, detailed dream. And then that morning I watched episode 1, and then I think I watched episode 1 through 7 or 1 through 6. And then I kind of like chilled out because I had something to do, and then I kind of caught up fully on Sunday. And I'm so glad I did. I want to give a huge shout out to Fernando and Brittany, who just got married, two of my best friends, who were constantly hounding me about the show. They were like, this is a show you need to be watching like right now. Season 2 is happening right now. You need to catch up like ASAP. As well as Eric and Elizabeth, who are another 2 of my best friends, who also recommended me the show and were like, yo, this is something you need to be watching. Like, it's right up your alley. And I actually watched Eternal Sunshine recently with Eric, and he had never seen it, and he really enjoyed it. So I was like, all right, it's only right that I returned the favor, and I'm so glad I did. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this episode, or this television review. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. What do you think about season 1? What do you think about the show in general? Yeah, recommend me any shows that are similar to this. Give me your thoughts on, or theories on, anything that's happening in the show. Thank you so much if you got to the end of this. I really, really appreciate it. That'll do it. Till next time, guys. Peace.